All right, let's dive into the world of Kuaishou Technology.
Yeah.
For anyone out there who might not be familiar,
Mm-hmm.
Kuaishou is a massive player in China's digital world.
Oh, yeah.
Think of it as a platform that mashes together the short-form video fun of TikTok with the live streaming energy of Twitch,
Right.
and then sprinkles in some e-commerce to top it all off.
Yeah, that's Kuaishou.
Today, we're going to be dissecting their 2023 annual report to figure out what makes this company tick.
Absolutely.
How are they performing financially?
Yeah.
And what are they doing to try and boost shareholder value?
Right.
It's pretty amazing how Kuaishou has managed to become such an integral part of its users' daily lives.
Yeah, it's not just about entertainment anymore. It's
Right.
a platform where you can connect with people,
Yeah.
shop,
Uh-huh.
even find jobs.
Okay, let's break down their business a little bit.
Okay.
The report highlights three main segments:
Okay.
online marketing, live streaming, and e-commerce.
Yeah,
The growth in online marketing revenue is really something else.
it is.
A 20.6% year-over-year jump in Q4 of 2023 alone.
Wow.
They're definitely doing something right.
One key factor is their dedication to giving businesses better tools to target their ads.
Uh-huh.
They've rolled out features like placement analysis and smart hosting, giving advertisers more control and a lot more insight.
Right.
It's no wonder they've seen a 160% jump in active marketing clients.
That's huge.
It is.
But it's not just about throwing up regular ads.
No.
They're coming up with clever ways to integrate marketing right into the live streaming experience.
Right.
Kuaishou is a perfect example.
What's that?
It's their live streaming recruitment service.
Oh, wow.
They saw a 200% year-over-year increase in daily resume submissions.
It makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Live streaming offers this really interactive, real-time way for job seekers and employers to connect.
Right.
It's so much more engaging than just scrolling through endless job postings online.
Definitely.
It really shows how Kuaishou is pushing the boundaries of live streaming. They're not just broadcasting content.
Right.
They're actually facilitating real-world interactions and transactions.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Kuaishou isn't the only example either.
No.
They've also got Ideal Housing, which brings home buyers and sellers together through live streaming.
Oh, cool.
This whole live streaming plus approach is clearly a hit.
Uh-huh.
Ideal Housing racked up a massive 16 billion RMB in transactions just in Q4.
That's crazy.
It really shows that they get how their users behave.
Yeah.
They're tapping into that desire we all have for more interactive and immersive experiences.
Right.
Whether it's buying a home, finding a job, or discovering new products.
Totally.
Speaking of reaching new audiences, let's shift gears and talk about their business overseas.
Okay.
Revenue from their international markets skyrocketed by 200% year over year in Q4 2023.
Seriously?
Seriously.
That's wild.
That's not just growth. That's like a full-blown explosion.
Yeah.
Brazil and Indonesia are turning out to be really strong markets for Kuaishou. And get this, they're managing to pull off this incredible growth while becoming more efficient at the same time.
How?
They've managed to cut down their user growth costs by over 30%,
Wow.
which shows that they're really learning and getting better as they expand,
That's smart.
all while they're narrowing their operating losses in the overseas segment.
Really?
It really suggests that they're on track to become profitable even as they're pouring resources into growing internationally.
It's a really smart approach.
Yeah.
They're not just throwing money at the problem.
Right.
They're strategic about how and where they invest. And this focus on sustainable growth is something we see reflected in their overall financial performance, too.
Okay, which brings us to the numbers everyone loves to talk about.
Right.
The financial highlights.
Yeah.
Kuaishou's overall revenue went up by a solid 20.5% year over year.
Solid.
But what really grabs your attention is their impressive turnaround.
Uh-huh.
They went from an operating loss in 2022 to a profit of 6.431 billion RMB in 2023.
That's a huge swing.
It shows just how effective their growth strategies are
Yeah.
and how committed they are to improving profitability.
Right.
Their user base keeps getting bigger, too.
I bet.
The Kuaishou app now has a whopping 374.3 million daily active users,
Wow.
up from 353.1 million in 2022.
That's a lot of users.
More users mean more engagement, more opportunities to make money, and a stronger foundation for future growth.
It's like a chain reaction.
Yeah.
Their growing user base brings in more advertisers, which fuels their revenue growth And that gives them the resources to invest even more in making their platform even better, which attracts even more users.
It's a beautiful cycle.
It is.
And let's not forget about their shareholders.
Right.
Kuaishou's been really proactive about creating shareholder value.
Yeah.
Including a share buyback program.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Between May 2023 and March 2024, they repurchased a significant chunk of Class B shares.
How many?
52,744,900 to be exact.
Wow.
And they canceled them afterwards.
Got it.
And as of April 10th, 2024, there were still another 4,383,100 repurchased shares waiting to be canceled.
That's a clear sign that they believe in the long-term value of their own company.
Definitely.
They're putting their money where their mouth is.
They're also taking steps to keep a good balance of power within the company's structure.
Oh, how so?
They've been converting Class A shares into Class B shares to keep the proportion of shares with weighted voting rights steady.
I see.
It's a pretty complex area, but basically it's about making sure that the interests of all stakeholders are aligned.
Right.
And that no one group has too much control over the direction of the company.
I got it.
It's all about creating a sustainable and equitable governance structure, which is absolutely crucial for long-term success.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm really curious about?
What?
What's fueling those impressive financial results we were just talking about?
Well, it's a combination of things, really.
Like what?
Their revenue growth is really strong.
Uh-huh.
That gives them a larger base to work with. And they've been really smart about managing costs.
Okay.
Of course, their revenue sharing costs and marketing expenses are pretty substantial.
Yeah, I can imagine for a platform like this.
But they've done a good job of controlling other operating expenses.
So they're being careful with their spending and it's paying off.
Exactly. It explains how they went from a big operating loss in 2022 to a nice profit in 2023.
And if we take a look at their balance sheet, it tells a story of financial stability.
It does.
They've got a strong cash position, which gives them the flexibility to invest in future growth.
Yeah.
Handle any unexpected challenges.
Right.
And reward those shareholders we talked about earlier.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's great to hear that they have cash on hand, but are they actually generating it consistently?
You're asking the right questions.
That I try.
Cash flow is like the lifeblood of any business.
It is.
And Kuaishou's doing really well in that department.
Oh, yeah.
They've been generating strong cash flow from their operations.
Yeah.
Which tells us their core business is profitable and producing cash.
So it's not just a one-time thing.
Right.
It's sustainable profitability that translates into real cash they can use to invest in their platform, pursue new opportunities, and of course keep those shareholders happy.
It's all connected.
It is.
And when we talk about shareholder value, it's not just about dividends and buybacks.
No.
Their strategic investments play a crucial role too.
So it's not just about handing out cash.
No.
It's about making smart bets that will grow the company as a whole.
Exactly. They're investing in areas with massive potential.
Like what?
Technology to enhance their platform, content to keep users engaged, and expansion into new markets to tap into fresh audiences.
And all of this is fueled by that healthy cash flow we were just talking about.
Yeah.
But there's one specific metric I'm really curious about.
What's that?
Free cash flow. That's the cash they have left over after all the essential spending.
Yeah, free cash flow is the cash they have available for acquisitions, debt reduction, those shareholder rewards we talked about.
Yeah.
And basically any strategic move they think is worthwhile.
So do they have much?
The good news is Kuaishou has positive free cash flow.
Oh, that's correct.
It gives them a lot of options.
That's excellent.
It paints a picture of a company that's in a really strong financial position.
Right.
They're capable of both rewarding their investors and investing in their future.
It all sounds really promising, but I'm sure no business is without its risks.
Of course.
The report does mention a few potential challenges, right?
It does. One factor to always keep in mind with any company that operates in China is the regulatory landscape.
Yeah, that's true for any business in China.
It's a complex and ever-changing environment.
Are there any specific concerns they mentioned?
Well, the report highlights something called contractual arrangements.
Okay.
These are what allow Kuaishou to operate within China's specific regulatory framework.
I see.
The thing is, Kuaishou doesn't directly hold the licenses it needs for some of its operations.
Oh, so how does that work?
They rely on agreements with companies that do hold those licenses.
So there's a layer of dependence there.
Yes. And that could be a risk if those arrangements were to change.
That makes sense.
Then there are the bigger economic conditions to consider. Like if there were to be a global economic slowdown
Right.
or changes in consumer spending habits, those could definitely have an impact on their advertising revenue.
That's a significant chunk of their business model.
It is.
But from what we've seen so far,
Yeah.
it seems like they're aware of these challenges and they're taking steps to mitigate them.
How so?
They're diversifying their revenue streams.
Okay.
Expanding internationally so they're not reliant on any one market.
Right.
And constantly innovating to stay ahead of the game.
It's a good strategy.
They're building a robust and adaptable platform.
Yeah.
Which is crucial in today's fast-paced digital world.
For sure.
And their strong financial performance gives them a bit of a cushion to help them navigate any unexpected bumps in the road.
Right.
So we've covered Kuaishou's various business segments.
Yeah.
We've dug into the details of their financial performance, and we even touched on their strategy for creating value for shareholders.
We did.
But what I'm really curious about is their long-term vision.
Yeah, me too.
How do they plan to stay ahead of the curve in such a dynamic and competitive industry?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is.
Kuaishou is operating in a space that's constantly changing and evolving.
Absolutely.
Short-form video, live streaming, e-commerce.
Right.
It's a wild mix.
Yeah.
And they're not just going along for the ride. They're actively shaping the industry.
I like that.
Their annual report gives us a glimpse into their strategy for staying ahead of the curve.
Oh, good. I'm eager to hear what they're focused on.
Innovation is at the very heart of their approach.
Makes sense.
They're investing a lot in research and development, exploring new technologies like AI and augmented reality, and experimenting with new formats and features to keep users hooked and attract new audiences.
That's smart.
They talk a lot about enhancing their ecosystem.
What does that mean exactly in the context of Kuaishou?
Well, think of it like they're trying to create a more seamless and integrated experience for users.
Okay.
It's about blurring the lines between watching entertaining videos, engaging with live streams, shopping for products, and connecting with businesses.
So it's all about making everything work together smoothly.
Yeah, they want to build a complete digital ecosystem where users can effortlessly move between all these different activities.
Interesting. So it's not just about offering a bunch of separate features.
No.
It's about weaving them all together.
Right.
To create a cohesive and compelling user experience.
Exactly. It's like they're creating a digital world where entertainment, commerce, and social interaction are all intertwined.
Yeah, I get it.
And this approach is crucial for attracting and keeping users in a world where everyone is vying for their attention.
You're right about that. Attention is a precious commodity these days.
It is.
And they're not limiting themselves to China, right?
Yeah, their international expansion seems to be a big part of their long-term vision.
It does.
They've already established themselves in markets like Brazil and Indonesia, which shows their platform has global appeal.
Yeah.
And they're continuing to explore new markets.
That's great.
Adapting what they offer to match local preferences and cultural differences.
It's a pretty bold move, taking a platform that was born in China and trying to translate it to a global audience.
It is.
What do you think has been the key to their international success so far?
I think a big part of it is their willingness to adapt. They're not trying to force a one-size-fits-all approach on everyone.
Right.
They're carefully studying each market, figuring out local trends and preferences, and then tailoring their content and features to match.
So it's about being sensitive to cultural differences and finding ways to make the platform resonate with people in different parts of the world.
That's the key.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Kuaishou Technology, what's the main takeaway for our listener?
Well, I'd say Kuaishou is a company that really embodies the energy and innovation of the digital age.
I agree.
They've shown an incredible ability to adapt, evolve, and anticipate what their users want. Their blend of entertainment, commerce, and social interaction, along with their commitment to expanding internationally, makes them a really fascinating company to watch.
They've achieved some really impressive financial results.
Yeah.
And they've also laid the groundwork for sustainable long-term growth.
It's true.
It's clear that they're not content to just sit back and relax.
No, they're constantly pushing boundaries, experimenting with new ideas, and finding creative ways to connect with users all over the world.
Kuaishou's success really makes you think about the future of digital platforms.
Yeah, what's next?
They've shown that it's possible to seamlessly blend entertainment, commerce, and social interaction. I wonder what other industries could benefit from that kind of approach. Could we see similar platforms popping up in healthcare, education, even government services?
It's definitely something to think about.
It is, as we watch the digital world continue to evolve.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens next.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. But let's dig a little deeper into their financial performance.
Okay.
I'm sure you're curious about what's driving these impressive results.
Absolutely. The report mentioned a big improvement in their gross profit margin, meaning they're keeping more of every dollar they earn.
Right.
It jumped by 36.2% year over year.
That's a lot.
What's behind that?
Well, it's a few things working together.
Okay.
First, their revenue growth is really solid.
Uh-huh.
Gives them a bigger base to work with.
Right.
Second, they've been really strategic about managing their costs.
Okay.
Obviously, their revenue sharing costs and marketing expenses are pretty big.
Yeah, I can imagine for a platform like this.
But they've managed to control other operating expenses really effectively.
So they're being smart about their spending, and it's showing in their bottom line.
Exactly. It explains how they went from a pretty substantial operating loss in 2022 to a healthy profit in 2023.
Right. And if we take a peek at their balance sheet,
Uh-huh.
it shows a pretty good story of financial stability.
It does.
They have a strong cash position,
Yeah.
which gives them the flexibility to invest in future growth,
Right?
handle any unexpected problems,
Uh-huh.
and reward those shareholders we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, definitely.
That's great. But cash on hand is one thing.
Right.
Are they actually generating it consistently?
Good question.
That's where the cash flow statement comes in, right?
You got it. Cash flow is super important for any business.
Absolutely.
And Kuaishou's doing really well on that front.
That's it to hear.
They've been generating strong cash flow from their operations,
Okay.
which means their core business is profitable and producing actual cash.
So it's not just a one-time thing.
Nope.
It's sustainable profitability that translates into cash they can use.
To invest in their platform,
Uh-huh.
go after new opportunities,
Right.
and yeah, keep those shareholders happy.
Exactly.
It's all connected.
It is. And speaking of shareholder value,
Yeah.
it's not just about dividends and buybacks.
Right. Their strategic investments are a big part of that, too.
So it's not just about handing out cash.
Yeah.
It's about making smart decisions that will grow the whole pie.
Exactly. They're putting money into areas with huge future potential,
Like what?
technology to make their platform even better,
Uh-huh.
content to keep users engaged,
Right.
and expansion into new markets to find new audiences.
And all of that is fueled by that healthy cash flow we were just talking about.
That's right.
But there's one specific metric I'm curious about.
Which one?
Free cash flow.
Okay.
That's the cash they have left over after all the necessary spending, right?
You gotta get free cash flow is the cash they can use for acquisitions,
Uh-huh.
paying down debt.
Right.
Those shareholder rewards we talked about?
Yeah.
Basically any strategic move they think is a good idea.
So how's their free cash flow looking?
Good news, Kuaishou has positive free cash flow.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It gives them a lot of flexibility.
That's excellent.
It shows us they're in a strong financial position.
Right?
They can both reward their investors and invest in their own future.
It all sounds really positive, but I'm sure no business is completely risk-free.
Of course not.
The report does mention a few potential challenges, right?
It does one thing to always consider with any company operating in China is the regulatory landscape.
Yeah, that's true for any business in China.
It's a complex and constantly changing environment.
Are there any specific concerns they highlighted?
Well, the report mentions these contractual arrangements.
Okay.
These are basically what allow Kuaishou to operate within China's unique regulatory system.
I see.
But here's the thing. Kuaishou doesn't actually directly hold the licenses it needs for all of its operations.
Oh, so how does that work?
They rely on agreements with other companies that do have those licenses.
So there's a level of dependence there.
Yeah, and that could be a risk if those arrangements were to change for any reason.
That makes sense.
And then there are the broader economic factors to think about, like a potential global economic slowdown
Right.
or changes in how people spend their money.
Yeah.
Those could definitely impact their advertising revenue.
Which is a big part of their business model.
It is.
But from everything we've seen so far,
Yeah.
they seem to be well aware of these potential challenges, and they're taking steps to address them.
Like what?
They're diversifying their revenue streams,
Okay.
expanding internationally,
Right.
so they're not solely reliant on any one market,
Right.
and they're constantly innovating to stay ahead of the game.
It's a smart strategy.
They're building a really strong and adaptable platform,
Yeah.
which is so important in today's fast-paced digital world.
Absolutely.
And their strong financial performance gives them a cushion
Uh-huh.
to help them navigate any unexpected bumps in the road.
Makes sense.
So we've explored Kuaishou's different business segments.
Yeah.
We dug into their financial performance and even touched on their strategy for creating value for their shareholders.
We did.
But I'm really interested in their long-term plans.
Yeah, me too.
How do they plan to navigate the future in such a competitive and ever-changing industry?
That's the million-dollar question. That's where it gets really interesting. Kuaishou's in a space that's constantly evolving,
Yeah.
short-form video, live streaming, e-commerce.
Yeah.
It's a crazy mix.
It is.
And they're not just riding the wave, they're trying to shape it.
I like that.
Their annual report gives us a little peek into how they're planning to stay ahead.
Okay, good. I'm all ears. What are they focusing on?
Innovation. That's the core of it all.
Okay.
They're putting a ton of resources into R&D,
Wow.
exploring new technologies like AI and augmented reality.
Cool.
And they're not afraid to experiment with new formats and features,
Right.
all to keep their users engaged and bring in new audiences.
Makes sense.
They keep mentioning this idea of enhancing their ecosystem.
Yeah. What does that actually mean for Kuaishou?
Well, it's about creating a smoother, more integrated experience for users.
Okay.
It's about blurring the lines between watching videos, engaging with live streams, shopping for products, and connecting with businesses.
So everything working together seamlessly.
Exactly. They're aiming to build a full-fledged digital ecosystem where users can easily move between all those different activities.
I see. So it's not just about offering a bunch of separate features.
No, not at all.
It's about weaving them all together
Right.
into a cohesive and engaging experience.
Yeah, it's like creating a whole digital world
Ah,
where entertainment, commerce, and social interaction are all connected.
that makes sense.
And this integrated approach is really important for attracting and keeping users.
Yeah, especially in a world where everyone is competing for attention.
Absolutely. Attention is like gold these days.
It really is.
And they're not just focused on China, are they?
No, their international expansion seems to be a big part of their long-term strategy.
It is. They've already got a strong presence in places like Brazil and Indonesia,
Yeah.
showing that their platform has global appeal.
Right.
And they're not stopping there. They're actively looking at new markets,
That's great.
adapting their offerings to fit local tastes and cultural differences.
Taking a platform that started in China and bringing it to a global audience
Yeah.
is a bold move.
It is. What do you think has been the key to their success internationally so far?
I think a big part of it is their willingness to adapt.
Yeah, I agree.
They're not trying to force a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right. They're really taking the time to understand each market, figuring out what the local trends and preferences are,
Yeah,
and then tailoring their content and features accordingly.
it's all about being sensitive to those cultural nuances
Yeah,
and finding ways to connect with people from all different parts of the world.
absolutely.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Kuaishou Technology, what's the big takeaway for our listeners?
I think the main thing to remember is that Kuaishou is a company that truly embodies the dynamism and innovation we see in the digital age.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it.
They've been incredibly adaptable.
Uh-huh.
They're constantly evolving,
Right.
and they're really good at anticipating what users will want next.
They've managed to achieve impressive financial results.
Yeah, and they've set themselves up for sustainable growth in the long run.
And it's clear they're not content with just sitting back and enjoying their success.
No, they're always pushing the boundaries, experimenting with new ideas, and finding new ways to connect with people all over the world.
It's pretty inspiring.
It is.
Their success raises some interesting questions about the future of digital platforms as a whole.
It does.
They've proven that it's possible to seamlessly blend entertainment, commerce, and social interaction.
Uh-huh.
Makes you wonder what other industries could benefit from this kind of approach.
It does.
Could we see platforms like this in healthcare education? Even government services?
It's definitely something to think about.
It'll be fascinating to see how things evolve as the digital world keeps changing.
Absolutely.